Turns out Code Vein has a huge focus on tinkering and customizing. In the end, the three main components you work with are blood codes, gifts, and blood veils, and then through those you customize your stats. It's not like Souls where you allocate stat points at a bonfire to make your build. Here, in this case, leveling at these checkpoints just increases the linear baseline, but the good thing is you can switch from any class to another whenever you want. The blood codes, the classes, will be the foundation of your build. It's your blood code that determines your stat distribution. See as how I swap between these blood codes? My base stats are being adjusted, which in turn is restricting what weapons I can wield and how much ichor I have and so on. However, you only start with 3 blood codes, but after a couple of playthroughs you'll find like 30 more. So I think it's best to think of the build making process as modular. You can feel free to adjust your build to fit any situation as you go, because you'll almost be forced to do that anyway. If you want to end up with a very tanky endgame build that can block all damage with the Zweihander, let's say, and smash everything to pieces, you would start out basic with the first fighter blood code. You'd swap to the Berserker as soon as you beat the first boss, because the Berserker code has more health, a larger weight allowance, higher balance. You'd probably stick with that until you pick up the Atlas code, which has among the highest health, weight and balance of any code, until you reach more of the endgame. The advantages and the uniqueness will mainly come from the gifts that are tied to your code class. There are light gifts, which are mainly buffs, dark gifts are generally offensive spells, and skill gifts, which are generally for melee builds and improving your weapon combat. And the third component of build making, you might be wondering about blood veils. Blood veils are essentially armor sets in Code Vein, and for build making they aren't as important in some ways. Whichever one you choose, it'll give you specific resistances and protection. The scaling on the blood veil that you see is only for the drain attack damage, and dark and light gifts, so mages and casters will have to prioritize their blood veil a bit more. For the first build I had in mind, I wanted a stealthy rogue or assassin character. Using the Ranger's blood code is the obvious choice at the start for me, since I'll get a B+ scaling in dexterity, and since we have barely any buffs at the beginning of the game, we just want to focus on dexterity and mobility. Quick tip for using the Ranger code, by the way. This code has a light gift you can acquire called Spoil Spotter that can help you figure out if there's any hidden loot you might be missing nearby.
Wow, very good eye.
As soon as we've entered the home base though, we can speak to Louis and claim the Prometheus blood code, and I realised this blood code was way better across the board. I got more defense, more balance, more health, more ichor. In fact, all my stat scaling increased, except dexterity, which stayed the same. I was rolling with the Lost Bayonet for a while because it had a C scaling in dexterity, decent base damage for my level, and crucially it was very low weight. The only problem I was finding is Prometheus gave me less of a weight allowance, and its mobility category is normal, so I'm not getting the fastest mobility speed. I felt that taking advantage of the fastest mobility would fit my character theme best, so in the parking garage area next, I found the GXH Assault +1 Blood Veil, which was lighter than the Queenslayer Thorn Veil I'd been using, only 40 weight instead of 47. It had a little worse defense, but it increased our drain attack damage by loads. Plus the main thing is it put us just under 50% of our total weight allowance, allowing us now to glide around the levels like a true assassin. And each blood veil has a drain type associated with it, and with this veil it was Pierce. This one pierces the earth around you with serrated blades and impales enemies. Yeah, it's as cool as it sounds.
That's a pathetic disguise.
However, as I said, this game's quite modular. I think it's best to not get too attached to things, because only 5 minutes later I found the Night Claw Veil. It's even lighter, better drain damage, pretty similar defense, and if I'm honest, the Ogre Claw drain attack style is way easier to use for parries and stuff. And the red cape goes quite nicely with my sunny boots. A good benchmark test now would be the Butterfly of Delirium boss. This is a required boss fight in the Ruined City Center Park. My partner here is Yakumo. I found him to be an amazing help. Honestly, strength in this game is very, very good, especially at lower levels. So having a partner like him to dish out some big damage and stagger the boss at the same time complements my playstyle, I feel like, and it's just a good help. So a little gift check. I'm throwing up Adrenaline to boost attack power, Blood Guard for defense. Shifting Hollow is just a dash. Phantom Assault is the dash into Slash. so I started really milking my extreme speed and mobility, dashing in to throw in some quick attacks and then dashing straight out again. If you're using a bayonet like me, I found it quite good to shoot the boss every now and then to refocus its attention away from your partner. Because I'm so speedy, I can dodge much easier than Yakumo, so I felt it made sense for me to take the boss's aggro. If you ever do get the chance, definitely throw in a drain attack when you can. It does a lot of damage, and of course it replenishes my I-core so I can recast my gifts, which I really needed to be doing more. When we won, our health was restored, which was great because I was out of healing and poisoned. After this fight, I invested in Blade Dance. I know that I'm a build that needs to dance around enemies and throw out quick fast hits, so a gift that increases my damage on consecutive attacks is perfect. I purchased Blade Dance and slotted it in place of Shifting Hollow because I found that gift to be quite underwhelming. My base mobility is so fast as it is, I don't really need a gift to dash in mist form, it's just a waste of I-core. After this I had a choice to move into Area H14, the dried up trenches, but I decided to retrace my steps and explore the abyss that we had passed earlier. Of course, my character's so nimble and so athletic that I fell straight to my death.
Round 2.
Once I eventually made it down, I unlocked the elevator shortcut and entered the Howling Pit.
This elevator is right.
It's within this Area G12 that I located the Assassin Blood Code, which is fantastic news. I wasn't sure about using the code itself permanently because it has worse stats than Prometheus, and for the moment the advantage of its quicker mobility is kind of irrelevant for me right now since I'm using the bayonet, which is so light I have the quickest speed anyway. But nevertheless, the important thing is the access to new gifts from the Assassin Code. I purchased Shadow Assault, Sharpened Fangs, and Overdrive. Then I did swap to the Assassin Code with the long term in mind. I knew I had to max out the proficiency of these gifts that I just bought, so in the future I can then use them with my Prometheus Blood Code. Sharpened Fangs in particular I think would be great for us. It increases the damage of our backstab and parry drain attacks, which of course as a stealthy rogue type character, that's what we want. Do remember to use the regen extension factors when you get them. I had 2 from the tutorial and the city centre area. These increase your amount of heals, like adding Estus flasks.
That feels better.
It's a good time to head back to the home base to purchase, upgrade, and unlock. Key thing you want to do as soon as you can, talk to all the residents at the home base and unlock their blood codes. I did this and got Hermes, Mercury, and Atlas. I upgraded my bayonet to +4, which added almost 100 base damage. Really worth upgrading your weapons when you can. On that note, I also upgraded my Nightclaw Blood Veil to +3. I had a ton of spare haze, so why not? Coco had a camouflage item that conceals us when used, so I bought 2 of them just in case they could come in handy. And then last but definitely not least, I found out how the vestige system works in Code Vein. Each blood code will have gifts that are locked or deficient, so you'll need to travel the world picking up vestiges and turning them in here to Io. Doing this will reveal hidden memories sealed inside the blood codes, and then you can purchase the relevant gifts at a mistal. An example here is I unlocked One-Handed Sword Mastery because that would be a great gift for my build. I'll showcase some really crucial aspects to combat that you might not have realised existed. You have light and heavy attacks, with all weapons of course. But in addition, you also have an extended moveset using R1, the right trigger. A normal light attack looks like this, but hold the right trigger and then press attack and you get a new move. With the bayonet strong attack, I shoot, but holding right trigger, I dash back and lunge forward instead. This also works with drain attacks when you're in a combo. So if you attack, hold right trigger and then press X, you add in a fast drain attack, and this is powerful. But it also slams enemies and sends some of them flying. As we came to the end of the Howling Pit, I maxed out my proficiencies and mastered the Assassin gifts, which means I can use them with any blood code now. Very convenient timing, because it happened just as I found the Hanamakuro +3, which seems fun. It's a katana with an improved B+ scaling and dexterity. The only problem is the added weight puts me just over into normal mobility, so I took this opportunity and swapped back to the Prometheus code for the stat benefits and slotted in my newly mastered assassin gifts. So now we're running Night Stalker, Shadow Assault, and Bloodguard at the top, and all attack boosters at the bottom. Overdrive, Adrenaline, Blade Dance. And I chucked in a new communal one, Lupinus Vita, costs a whopping 20 ichor, which is probably way too much, and I'm definitely going to cut it later. But hey, doesn't hurt to try it out. Now our build was looking a bit more focused and specialised for the invading executioner fight, which is nice. I think it was perfect for my character. Even though I wasn't at my quickest mobility anymore, I think it was quick enough. As my first real test with the new katana, I ended up quite liking it. It is a bit slower than the bayonet, with no range attack, but that's alright. Notice I'm throwing in my modified combo drain attacks, which is very reasonable damage, plus a tiny bit of ichor gain, and most importantly it's quick, so you really aren't risking much compared to the fully charged drain attack. With my ichor management, I'm prioritising my overdrive, adrenaline and blade dance buffs when I can to keep my damage per second high, and occasionally throwing the shadow assault attack in the mix because it looks cool. I'd say the boss's pole spins and her slip and slide attacks were the only major concern. Otherwise, I've actually beaten her before in an old preview build, so I knew roughly what to expect.
Bring it anytime.
From defeating the invading executioner, we get her assassin's sickle, and honestly, I think it would be another perfectly fine choice for us to use as well. I upgraded it a little bit to +3, just so I could compare it to our +4 Hanemurakumo, and it's decent. Better range, just less DPS since it's slower. With the gifts and buffs I have right now, including Blade Dance, which increases my attack power every time I damage something, the more I hit, the higher my damage becomes. I could really see this going somewhere. Now you have a reasonable insight into how you might create your own Code Vein character. Maybe some of the things I've done today can inspire you. I know some of the endgame setups you can make are absolutely insane. We've really just scratched the surface today, so if you want to share your own tips and experiences in the comments, go for it. Otherwise, we'll pick back up with this playthrough next time. Thanks for watching.